In today's video we're going to be making ourselves a wedding photographer logo. Today it's for Alan Hughes Photography, but feel free to change that name to even your name if you would like. The logo itself is just the shape of a camera and a bit of text below it. The picture in the background actually has nothing to do with the logo. I just think it's a nice way to present your logo to your clients. Okay, so let's pop over to Photoshop now and get started. We'll begin today by going to File and Open, and we're going to open up a picture from a wedding. Okay, you can either choose one off Google or use the one here that I've supplied for you. Once we've got that picture in, we'll go over to our Layers panel. Now, I must warn you that my version of Photoshop has horrid screen resolution. Not sure what's happened to it, so everything's a little bit bigger than it should be, but hopefully you can still work out what I'm doing with all the panels and the different tools that I'll be using today. So in my Layers panel, I'm going to unlock that layer by pressing the padlock. And I'm going to simply go up to my window menu and go to adjustments. And what I want to do to this picture is change the hue and saturation by clicking this button in the second row. I'm simply going to grab the saturation slider and move it all the way to the left, and that's going to suck the color out of it and make it a grayscale image. I can then close up my properties there in my hue and saturation box. The other thing I want to do to this picture is make it a bit darker. At the moment it's very light, and I know my logo is going to be white in color, so I really want the white to pop out on a dark background. So back in my layers, what I'm going to do is just make a new layer and drag it to the bottom of that layer box, or layer panel there. Once you've got it on the bottom, just go up to Edit menu and Fill. We're going to fill that layer in with a black color and click OK. Once we've got that there, we're simply going to drop the opacity of the wedding photo layer. So back on layer 0 for me here, I'm going to change that opacity down to around 60%. When you get to about 60%, you can see that the image gets a bit darker as that black is showing through now. And I think it looks pretty good, so we'll leave it at 60%. Okay. These three layers now can be grouped together, so simply click on the first one, hold Shift, click on the bottom layer, and Control G will group those together. If you want to double click on group 1 and rename it to background and lock it into place, okay, by hitting that padlock, we are finished with the background. Next thing we're going to do is make a new layer above that, and we might just call this basic shape. Okay, this is going to be the basic shape of our logo. What we're going to do for the basic shape is pick up our rectangle tool. We're going to draw a rectangle. This rectangle is going to have no fill color, but it is going to have a stroke. I'm just going to choose pink for now. Okay, it doesn't matter what color you pick, we will be deleting this shape again shortly. So your stroke's the border, and it's going to be size 50 pixels. Once you've got those set up, simply click on your page and start drawing a rectangle for me. That's roughly, I'll say, let's have a look at that size, yeah, about that size there. Okay. Once you've drawn that rectangle, make sure you've got your rulers up on your page. They should be around the top and the left hand side of your page. Control R is what you need to press to bring those rulers up if you can't see them. Now that your rulers are up, just click on those rulers and drag them onto your page and snap them onto each side of the rectangle like what I'm doing here. So top, bottom, left and right should have a ruler snapped onto it. We also need to put some rulers on the inside of that shape as well. Okay, so I'm going to grab my rulers. This time they're not going to snap, so you need to zoom in a little bit here and carefully place them on the inside parts of that rectangle. And that's not snapping on for some reason, so I'll just have to put it there. Okay, so take your time with this, and you should get something looking pretty good like that. Alright, I'm pretty sure I can't move this and snap it on. Don't know what's going on that bottom one. Close enough to perfect. Next thing we're going to do is go back to our layers here for a moment. Okay, we're going to lock that layer into place, and we're going to make one more layer over the top of it. I'm going to call this left side. It's going to be the left side of the camera that we draw now. To draw this left side of the camera, I'm going to pick up the pen tool. I'll press the letter P for the keyboard shortcut. We're going to simply start in the left hand corner of the page up here. left hand corner of the rectangle. I'm going to click once on that left hand corner. Hold shift and go all the way down the bottom and click on the outside left hand corner at the bottom. Come across to the outside bottom right corner, hold shift and click. Now we're going to come to the inside corner here, hold shift and click. Come to the inside corner here, shift and click. Next inside corner, shift and click. Come to this corner over on the right, shift and click. Now we're going to go diagonally up to the outside right corner. Hold shift and click, and then just simply go back to where you started and click on that starting point. And what you've done is drawn a shape. It's a bit like the shape of a C. You can't see it at the moment, so what we're going to do is right click anywhere in this shape we've just drawn and go make selection. A box will appear, but just click OK on that, and you'll see that a selection appears in the shape of a C. You can hide your basic shape layer for a moment just to see that a little bit clearer. That's looking pretty good. What I'm going to do while that's selected is just go up to my edit menu and go down to fill, and we're going to choose the contents to fill in as white. When you do that, you see you get this white shape now. And that's the left side of our camera in the logo. With that basic shape layer now, you can delete that. Just have to unlock it first to delete it and press the trash can. And back to this left side. What we're going to do is press Ctrl D to deselect this shape so those little marching ants will disappear. And we're going to right click on the left side layer and duplicate the layer. You can press Ctrl J for the shortcut. And we're going to rename this layer to a right side. Okay, it's going to be the right side of the camera in just a moment. Now with the right side layer selected, I want you to go up to your edit menu, down to transform, and we're going to select the flip horizontal option. Okay, and using your arrow keys, I'll just hide my layers here, hold shift and then use your right arrow key, oops, to move this shape across. You might need your move tool selected before you actually move it. Okay, and what you're going to do, I'll just zoom out a bit here again, move this across so there's a gap between those shapes. We'll say about that big for now. Okay, now these blue guides are a little bit distracting, so what I'm going to do is just go to view and clear those guides off, and you can start to see our shape a little bit clearer. We do need a couple of guides for this next step though, so just bring your guides down to the top and bottom of your shapes there. Okay, in your layers, what I'm going to do is make a new layer and call this circle. It's going to be the middle part of the camera, which is basically the shape of a circle. On that layer, we're going to go back to our shapes tool here and grab our ellipse tool. We're going to change our stroke color there to white. Still going to leave it at 50 pixels though, so it's the same width as the outside shapes here. And I'm going to start at this blue line at the top. Simply click, hold shift and drag down to the bottom blue line until it meets. Okay. Using my arrows, I'm just going to grab my move tool, hold shift and press the left button and move that across until it's right in between those two shapes. Now you may need to click on these outer shapes. Just go back to the layers here and maybe click on the right side, hold shift and just move it across a little bit with the arrow keys. I'll do the same for the left side. I'll just hold shift and move it across a couple of times with my left arrow key. I'm just going to click on those guides and drag them off the page. You can see we've got a pretty good looking camera now. One thing we are missing is the little flash in the corner. So to draw that, it's quite easy. I'll just go back to my layers here and make one more new layer. I'll just call it flash. And on that layer, just pick up your rectangle tool, turn your stroke off, and use a fill color this time. It's going to be white. And I'm simply going to draw a little rectangle up the top here. Which is going to be my flash. Okay. And I'm a little bit squished up in the corner here, so what I'm going to do with these layers, first of all, highlight all four of them and press Ctrl G to group them together. And I'll rename that group to logo. While that layer is still selected, I'm just going to nudge it down with my arrow keys. I might even pick it up actually with my move tool and just shift it down to a position that looks good. I think it's a little bit big at the moment, so I might even use my bounding box to hold shift and just transform that so it's a bit smaller. And we'll get that just to the right of the couple here in the photo. Okay, so it should be looking, I guess, something like that for the minute, somewhere near the center of the page. I'm going to put some text now below this image. So what I'm going to do is just lock that logo layer for the time being. We can always unlock it and move it around again later if we need to. I'm going to go to this new layer option here, and I'm just going to write in Alan Hughes and hide the layers for a minute. We're going to grab the text tool, make sure my color is white, and in capital letters I'm going to write the word Alan Hughes. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just change this font. There's no set font that you should use for this, but I'd like you to pick one that's fairly simple. A thin font was going to look best for, I think for a wedding photographer. I'm going to just choose Arial for now. I might get Arial Bold. Okay, you can choose another one if you'd like. The other thing I want to do is go to my window menu and get my character panel up. Okay, and I want you to play around here with the tracking. That's the amount of space between each letter. Okay, you watch if I go up to size 200, my text will get some space between each of the letters. Okay, I'm going to make my text a bit bigger. I'm going to go to about size 60, I think. And I'm going to set my tracking to about 500. I'm just going to grab my move tool and move that underneath the camera. See how that's going to look for now. I think I could do a little bit more tracking on this. I'm going to go back to my character panel and turn my tracking up to about 700. We'll see how that's looking. It's looking pretty good, I think, so I might stick with that. So just move that directly under your camera. Your guide should show you when you're right in the center. So that's the word Alan Hughes. I'm just going to make one more new layer, and I'm going to call that photography. And on this layer, we're obviously going to write the word photography in capital letters again. Now I don't want this the same size as what Alan Hughes is. I still want it in the center, but I want it to be a bit smaller and a little bit thinner. So I'm going to highlight that text. Instead of having bold, I'm just going to choose, I'll choose regular and see how that looks. Is that, it's a bit thinner. We'll try narrow. Yeah, narrow doesn't look too bad. I'll stick with narrow for the minute. I'm going to make it a bit smaller, so about half the size, at size 30. And I'm going to go back to my character panel and turn this tracking right up. I'm going to rip it up to about 1250. Then I'm just going to pick that up and move it underneath Alan Hughes there. So it's roughly in the center. So it's going to look something like that. So text is in position. We've got our logo here looking pretty good. I think we're done. So when you are finished, just go to your File menu and Save As. And in your account, I'm just going to save it as a JPEG so it's ready for use on the web. It'll be a nice small file size. You probably get away with saving it as a GIF, maybe even a PNG file. The JPEG's fine for me. I'll just call it logo and click Save. Box will come up saying what quality do you want it at. I'm going to stick with 12 as the largest quality there, or the maximum quality, and click OK. And that's saved, and we are done.